Alright guys, gotta look back at an old video of mine here. This is something I built a while ago and never had a chance to post onto the channel because it underwent a major disaster that almost ruined its entire build. This is a resin kit of the 1985 Fiero and it's almost 40 years old. During the build process, I dropped it, and let me tell you, resin kits don't like being dropped, especially 40-year-old resin kits. It was very brittle, and as you can see in all the photos here, it shattered the entire roof off of the car. In these upcoming photographs, you can see all the areas where I had to repair the body, where all the pieces had to be joined back together. Then there was a ton of filler work and a whole lot of sanding to repair all the seams where the roof had just cracked off the car. And after I was done, I had one complete body again. Now that I knew that I wasn't going to throw the kit in the garbage and give up, I decided to turn my attention to the interior. Now the interior is a one-piece tub and chassis all together. And what I decided to do was fully detail the tiniest interior that I had ever done up to that point. As you see here, I did all the shading on the seats, showing the shadows and the lights and the darks, and then I used flocking for the carpeting. Then I turned my attention to the dashboard, and this thing was tiny, as you can see by the size of the steering wheel next to my finger. So I did all sorts of detail painting and added all the details to the dash that was required. I then added all the door panel details, such as the mat pockets, the door handles, and all of the flocking on the door itself. This interior really was very nicely detailed. For such a small kit in 1/43rd scale, the interior was actually a pretty good representation of the real car. The wheels were made out of metal and were very accurately detailed to resemble the Pontiac TurboTech wheels that came on these cars in the years that they were produced. The tires were made out of rubber and looked pretty good for what they were. Here we have all the wheels painted and detailed up. For the paint, I just used Tamiya panel line paint and filled in the recesses of the wheels, which really highlighted all the spokes. Now we're back to the body. After all the repairs and repriming the entire model and rechecking for damage, I painted it with Tamiya Bright Red. This is a color that just works perfectly for this particular car. Next comes all the trim work. You can see here next to a photo of the real car how I matched up the colors, the bottom rocker moldings in silver, the black trim, all just to make the car look as real as possible. Here we have another look at it again in my hand shortly after doing some of the detail work. Now we're getting close to the finish line. The chassis has been mated to the body, and there is a rear wing. The wing itself is made out of metal, even though the rest of the body is made out of resin. Next, we're going to install the mirrors, which, strangely enough, unlike some of the larger kits I've worked on, I actually have pegs that allow it to slot right into the body to make installation a breeze. Here we have the car almost completely finished. You can see the windows have been installed, everything's attached. One odd thing that you may note about this car as you're looking at these pictures is that one side of the car sits higher than the other. Not really noticeable when you're looking at the car from one side or the other, but it is an issue with the way the body mounted to the chassis. There's nothing that I could do about that because I didn't want to try and modify that with all the troubles I had and the body going through the damage that it did have. So I kind of just left it alone, and we'll just look at it from one side at a time. There were actually no decals in this kit, but I did manage to grab one from another 1/43rd scale Fiero kit so that I could put the name on the rear deck look like the real car. But it's so small you can barely even see it. So now with the car all finished up, she joins the rest of the 1/43rd scale fleet, which is a whole nother display apart from my 1/24th and 1/25th scale cars. And here it is with another Fiero, the 1/43rd scale 1984 Fiero. She is next to a Ferrari Dino, a small 1/43rd scale car which I purchased. I did not build that one. And she kind of fits right in with the Pro built car. And now she's right next to the rest of the 143rd scale Fiero fleet, along with the Dole Pineapple car, which is another build which will be on the channel soon, and my 1984 and 1988 pre-built models. So there she is, completely finished, sitting next to her counterpart, another Fiero from Starter in 143rd scale, also resin. This one I didn't drop. Now, if you're asking why I didn't fix the ride height issue on the 85 GT, it's because I was afraid that anything I did to modify it, the body would have shattered in my hands. Been through that trauma once, did not want to go through it again. But it looks great, and I'm happy with the build.